Now I want to change the layout for, I want to have a background, a gray color background for my website, right? And in order for me to do that, I will need to go to my layout. So this layout is the one that will define how your HTML structure, your base layout, your template, for you to have, because each of the website will have different layout. For example, if you go to WordPress, right, the landing page and the blog post page, you have different layout. So you can control the layout by using creating the different kind of layout inside the layout folder. And in order for me to do that, I want to set, let me, no, I want to have a background, gray. Maybe I want a darker one. So darker one I can go into maybe 800. But of course, it hasn't changed over here. Reason is because I haven't set the height and the width itself. So we need to set the height will based on the full screen size, and then the width as the full screen size. So now you see, I'm able to get this one. If I remove the height of the screen size, right, you have a empty one over here. But I will show you what is W screen. W screen is to say that I want to occupy the full length of my width based on my screen size. If I use H, maybe 10. So over here, H10 is to say that I want to occupy, my height itself is just 10 pixel, 10 IEM. So 10 IEM is like 20, 30 pixels. I don't want that. I want to have a full screen one. So I use H screen over here. So all of them, I will be having a gray color full screen. And I can change the density of my gray color based on the number. So you have 100 to 800. I can change to 200. So you can change, this will be getting like very light. So I want something dark. We just go by 800 over here. And then the next thing is, because this page itself is the landing page that I want. So it's very easy for you to, you don't really need to create different routes for your web applications. You just need to focus on the creating the index form over here. This is the index. So if I use welcome to webinar, with this one, let me change the color so you will be able. So I change to white, goes to white. So can you see this one? Welcome to Lead Webinar. So index is the landing page. Once you land to the website, you will be able to see the content over here. Okay. So let's change this back to 800. I will have a dark background color and this one here. So before I start working on the content inside my index, I want to create a form, an input text box for myself. I will just need to create a component, right? In order for me to create components, normally how I do is the component itself is like widgets by widgets. I have a widget for my button. I have a widget for my input text form. I have a text area, and then I have an image. So all of them is by components. In Nuxt.js, right, we build everything by component level. So over here, I want to create a folder and keep everything inside items. And then I create the input view. By default, right, this is the default template that you will need to, okay, for input components, for all the view file, you can only have one template over here. This by default. This is the format for the input, right? And then I want to create divisions. Once we create this input components already, and then I want to import into my landing page over here. And we can do the import by using script. Import input element from components. Components is this folder, components, and then items, input.view. And once I import already, but I will need to register my element into my page itself. I will need to use components, input element, input elements. And this one, and I need to use over here. This is the input element. Export by default is the JavaScript handling for Next.js. You don't really need to understand, but focus on the flow itself. How do I set up the web applications from here? Okay, no. This is the input. I want to create an input text box over here. And then the type is to have text file as a text. And who's this one? So here, can you see this one? This text file? So this is the input text file over here that I create. And then I import this input text file into my index, my home page itself. So this is how I put. Now, for this one, I will just do a copy and paste because I already built this input components already. And this will also be, this is one of the components that we built up for our student to use. So you see that I already set up all the class and the model, everything I set up for you guys already. I just want you to focus on how can you use the component over here. Now let's focus in our landing page. Okay, next one will be I want to pass in, but the form that I want you to sign up, I want you to have a username and phone, right? So in order for me to get your informations, we need to create data name. I will need to store your name and the phone number. So one thing for sure, this data we are not storing inside the database. It will be stored inside the sessions. So once you close the tab, then the data will be gone. So we don't store users' data from these web applications here. So be aware of this one. And then I want to tell this input element to hold this information. So this is the label name. Save this as a name. And then input ID. Because each of the input text box, we need to provide an ID for it. Because one input text box is for name, and then another text box is for the phone. So in order for the data itself is not, it won't mix up, we need to use the ID. So we give it an ID as a name as well. And now the next thing is we need to provide a variable where we want to assign this name to this input element. So whatever the data that I type in over here, it will store inside this name. So I will just use model go to name. And when the user do any input, when I type in the name, there's an action called input. So when there's an action input is occur, when the input action is occur, then I want to assign the value into my name variable by using this one. So can you see it? I have this name is the label name. I can use your name. I save this one. It will reflect over here, right? So if my text box is inside here, it will be very ugly. I want to put it into the middle of the screen. So how I can do that by using CSS. I want to use class. So in order for me to use that, I need to use, but Motor doesn't help me to put all the contents into the middle of the screen. It's because the width and the height is only here. So our input text box occupy the full height and the full width of my content, but it doesn't occupy the screen size of the height and the width of the layout. So you can imagine that this level is my layout, and then index.view is on top of my layout, and the default the layout itself, I have full screen size for my height and width. By my index dot view, I don't have the full screen size over here. So in order for me to do that, I will need to set the full screen size inside here. Flex, screen height, and width. So after that, I have a full screen size over here already. The next thing is I want to place this form, this text box, into the middle of my screen. So I just need to create a new divisions. I want to place this one for divisions. Now, can you see that how do I structure my code by using divisions? Because the way I structure is by one layer by one layer, and then each of the layer that perform differently. So divisions, and now I want to set this one to float into middle. Ready. And then I want to have this one to be bigger. If I use full, right, this will be very long. This is very ugly. But in order, I want to be like fit into middle, and then not to be very short, or maybe I want to use half of my screen size. Yes, yes, the code itself will be shared inside, but Ruben will email to you guys later, no worries. So this text box will be inside here. Now the next thing is I want to have a text box for my phone. I just need to copy and paste this one. Yes, copy and paste this one. And then change this one to phone. Can you see how easy that you can create different multiple input by using copy and paste? You just copy and paste the components. Right? So this is why I say that if you build a lot of components, you just need to use the components. You just need to change the setting over here. Now I have name and phone over here, but the text box itself is like sticking together. I don't really want that. So in order for me to avoid that, I just need to create another divisions. Create another division. Outside. Wrap this two input together. Right? And then I just want to set pass. I want to set, there's a space at the top and the bottom. We call it margin. Margin Y is setting the margin for Y axis, which is top and bottom. Margin X is to set the X axis, which is the left and the right. So margin Y, I want to have a 4 space for the top. And then I want to have margin for the bottom as well. So when I click on this one, can you see the name changes from the input text form and the phone over here? So this is handled by Turing CSS already. And the next one, in order for me to In order for me to submit this form, of course, I will need to have a button. So let me add a button. And since we have a divisions over here, we just wrap things up. Divisions to wrap a button up and a button. Yep. Button. Let's name it as submit. You see this submit button, but there's no style over here, so it's very, very ugly. Let's add the style here. So you can see that I want to add a full one. Let's set the color first, so you'll be able to see the difference. So if I set background, so the button is something like this. It's very ugly. I want to occupy the full length, the same length of my input text box. I just use W dash full, so I occupy that. And I want to change the the font color to white. So I use text white. So you can see it's changed to white already. And then the next one, I want it to load sans serif font type, and I want the letter to be a little wider. The letter to be wider, right? Okay, you see it changed a little bit, and then I want the font text to be thin. Text, no, it's font thin. So I want it to be bold. So thin. Now the next one. The box itself is very, very ugly. I want to have more space on top and bottom. I can use padding. Why? So margin is to set the space outside. Padding is to set the space inside. So padding is 2. So I have a space over here. But for all the buttons that we use outside, right, normally when we use a mouse over, it will change a little bit color. And then if I click on this one, can you see there's a border over here? I want to remove this border, and then I want to set the color changes by using CSS. So let's fix the border first. So the border, we need to use focus outline none. If outline none. And then when I click again, you see the border is gone because of outline none already. And the next thing is I want to change the color when my mouse hover. Then I use hover. I want to change the text to white color. But because just now previous is white, right? Let's change this one to a little bit gray. So when I move over here, you see the font will change a little bit. And then the next one will be over. I want to change the background color to something darker, blue. I want to add. I want to save this one. You see the color change. So over here is like the effect is very solid. So I want to make it something smooth. I can add a transition. Duration, I want to set within like 500 milliseconds. And the effect will be eased in and out. So when I hover, can you see the color change? It goes slower and smoother. So this is, you can handle this by using CSS. So if you compare Tailwind with Bootstrap, it's totally different stuff. Bootstrap, you need to handle different size, and then you need to handle differently. But Tailwind, I just need to focus on the combinations of the CSS class over here. I don't really need to set like what is the padding, what is the resolution, the percentage, the pixels of the divisions of the class. I just need to focus on the settings over here, then I'm able to achieve this one already. Now, next one, I want to add a title over here. Let's add a new divisions, and then I want to say that this is SMS API. I have this one. You see the SMS API over here. Just a bit like ugly. I want to have the class, right? I want it to be center. So I use tag center. Center. This is the one. This will go to center. And then let's change this one to white color first. So we'll be able to see the changes. And the next one, I'm going to change the fonts and checking to wider. White and wider, wider will be wider. And the font, I want to check, I want to have a big font. I use 4XL. So this will change very big, but this is a bit ugly. I want to use thin. So it's not bold over here. Anything? Yeah. Of course, it's a bit too big. Let's change to 3. Smaller. Okay. So now I have a font. So I can type my name over here, and I can type my numbers over here, right? But this form is just to take in value. It's not performing any actions. You're still not able to send any SMS out. In order for us to do that, we need to create a SMS method. So the next one is I need to add a method. And because I need to wait for the SMS to come back after it's sent, I need to use asynchronous. So this is something once, but no worries. We will teach this one inside our class as well. So send SMS. And when do I need to trigger this method is, I want to trigger it when I click on this button. So in order for me to do that, I need to add actions. Still remember the actions that I put inside my text was like add input, right? So over here, when I click this one, is add click. I want to call the method. So when I click on this button and SMS, it will trigger this function to send out an SMS here. Fetch. So but this is the SMS 123 URL. So how do you get this URL? Is still remember this documentation. So we'll be using this link. This one, this API. So we'll be using this API to call. But I already predefined the API already. So we don't really need to handle on that. This is the API that I will be using. How with this one? Yeah, change this one too. Yep, this is my API. So I'm calling the API that provided by SMS123. And then, of course, I will need to have my API key. This once you register an account, you'll be able to get your API key. And then this phone number is the form that I get from my. Okay, there's error from this one. So this is like I will explain this one later. So this one, yep, this is the API that we'll be using over here to consume the API to send the SMS out. So the next one is we need to consume this API. This dot the library that you want to do. So remember we have a request and response, right? So we do a request to this API from SMS123 by using actions get, and also this process. Okay, let me start this one. Send and set the in and phone. This is not defined. We have this one. Why process not defined? Let me review this one. Once I got this one ready, and then let me try over here. And send. Let me check on my mobile. Okay, I received my SMS ready. Now, the next thing is this one is inside my local machines, which is inside my MacBook. In order for you guys to access, I need to push this code into my GitHub and my Netlify. For me to do that, I can use this one. So this tool is GitHub Desktop. GitHub Desktop. GitHub Desktop. So this is the GUI, the user interface applications for GitHub. You don't really need to learn on how to type the bash command to upload all your files, your projects, update, or to pull the latest updated code from your terminal, or you're using a bash commands. You can download GitHub Desktop and then use this one. So I'm using GitHub Desktop. Okay, you see the screen size is different. It will change differently. So let me choose this one to small one. So these are the file that I do all my changes, and I can just use updated. So in order for us to push the file, but we need to create a commit. So for every commit is the version controlling. For this is the latest version, and then we will need to give a name for the version. So from here, I say configure form for SMS API. So I commit this one. Once I commit already, I do a publish. I just push this one to GitHub. Can you see this one? It's resolving, and then it's pushing the code up to my GitHub ready. Now, push ready. Now, the next thing is, we go back to this one, site. So this is Netlify, and then deploy. So can you see building? So once I push my code to GitHub, because I connect my Netlify to the GitHub already, once Netlify detect there's a code changes or a new commit configure form for SMS API, a new commit is created in my GitHub. It will automatically pull all the code to Netlify and build. So let's see the log. This is the message when it start building. So every time when there's something happens on the building, I will check the log file inside here. And I can see that site is live, finish process build request. So let's go back. So this is the deploy, the latest one, configure form for SMS API. I just need to click this one. And then I have the SMS API ready. So I'll just share this one to you guys. Okay, try to type in your name and then your phone number without the dash and without the country code. So for my case, I'm using Edmund. You can use key. And I just use my phone number. Just do a submit again. Yep, I have message submit. So you can try on your side. And this SMS configurations, we will keep it, the SMS sending SMS to you guys, we will keep it until 11 because we need to pay for the SMS for every message that we send out. So please don't spam us. And then try it. If you're able to receive the SMS message, please type yes inside the group chat and let me know that the SMS is working for you yourself. Okay. Yep. This is the code. I will share the GitHub link to Ruben, and Ruben will email the source code address to you guys, and of course the slide itself Ruben will send to you guys as well. So this is something that you will be learned during the full set 360, because from here the development process more likely is like I have a layout for each of my website, and then I create a lot of components. After that, I focus on my pages already.